Alright, so welcome back to the channel. I really appreciate you guys, watching these videos again. Like I said a couple weeks ago, I was taking a look at my GSX-S1000 with the intention of cleaning the filter, knowing that I was not going to be back at it and just waiting for the perfect time to go to the track and whatnot. And actually, I ended up buying something else for the bike that I really want to install. And I'm super excited, and I really want to say thank you to Dynojet for working with me. Their customer service is amazing, and everybody else that I had a chance to talk to are really amazing. So I'm super proud of being able to work with them and actually show you guys the installation of what I'm actually doing today. So in the last couple of videos, I actually switched or shifted my quick shifter, Heel-Tech quick shifter, to my other bike, and I put a Dynojet quick shifter to my S1000 because I really wanted to keep the 1000 in the Dynojet family, and I wanted to do take the most possible advantage, by using all their peripherals. So that's exactly what I did. So I have the Dynojet quick shifter, I have the Pod 300, I also have the Auto-Tune, as well as the Power Commander 5. So the last piece of the puzzle is, at least for me, is just to get the new or the ignition module for the S1000. So this is actually applicable, and probably you can fit it to a bunch of different Suzuki bikes, or maybe some other bikes with the appropriate plug, but at least this is the one you're going to be using if you're looking to use it on an S1000. So the unit looks very similar to any other Power Commander unit. So you have your leads that they will go to your spark plugs, and then you have some other leads that will be used depending whether or not you're using a secondary module, field module that I'm not currently using. And it has some other crank sensor actual plugs, and then also a ground as well. In the box, you're also going to get a USB cable, because you're always going to use that to connect the peripheral to your device. And that's how you update it and make your different configurations. And then you have a CAN cable, and this is the one we're going to be using to connect the Power Commander to the ignition module. And then you have your more traditional Velcro and a couple of stickers, which are always welcome. So what do we want to do right now? So I am actually not an ignition expert or anything like that, but there's a couple things that I want to do in the future. I want to take this bike to a actual dyno so I can tune it properly on gas as well as on nitrous. So ignition module is going to give me the ability to retard my ignition, so I can prevent detonation if I went to when I'm running one open throttle with my nitros on. So that's one thing. Second thing that you get with this is the ability to have pit limiter. So there are certain tracks that they don't allow you to go faster than X amount of miles. I want to say maybe 60 if you're going to the pit. So that will give you the ability to be on the throttle, but the bike is going to be limiting your speed. And then it sounds like you're just giving it RPM, but the bike doesn't want to go faster than what is specified to go. And then third thing, and my favorite, is launch control. So this unit will control your ignition. So now that means that you're going to have launch control with your bike, and you can set the actual limit. RPM you want to limit your launch control at. So that means that from now on, when I go to the track, I can set it up to wide open throttle, and then have, as long as my clutch is engaged or actually completely pushed, my bike is going to be limiting the RPM. So even though I'm actually at wide open throttle, I can set it up to stay at 7, 3,000, 5,000, whatever, and then that's how you get the sound of that was pretty amazing actually. But anyway, so that's how you do it. So super excited about this. Thank you Dynojet for working with me, and then this is pretty amazing. I'm actually super happy about it. So now just tear down the bike and let's just get at it.
Start by removing the seats, then remove all plastic or fairings just so you can get access to the fuel tank. Remove the two 10mm bolts that are holding down the tank, and lift the tank. Move the ECU out of the way, and then start undoing all of the bolts that are holding down the airbox. If possible, remove the airbox completely. If it's too hard, then you can just at least just move it out of the way. One comment that I wanted to make is once you are done plugging in all the leads, Dynojet recommends you to route the cable through the left side of the engine, passing by where the cables of the throttles are. In this case, I decided just to route it through the right side of the cable because I got a better slack in order to get the unit and the tail of the bike, as well as it makes sense due to the location of the plug where you have to intervene, which is the crank sensor, the last white one you'll see at the end. As I'm wrapping up with the last lead, I'm just gonna plug both leads and then just make sure that the cables are free and they are tidy up. This is the crank sensor cable that I was just mentioning a couple of minutes ago, and this is the reason why I decided to route the complete harness through the right side of the engine. Due to the location of the ground cable on the Dynojet harness, I decided just to use one of my block-off bolts as a place for getting the ground. So before I actually disconnected it, I tested it with a test light just to make sure that I was getting ground. And once I confirmed that, I was able to use that bolt and use it as a great. It's actually perfect due to the location, but so use your best judgment when installing your ignition module. So at this point, you're done with the installation of the leads and everything needed. So at this point, it's just going to be a reverse of the same process that I did in order to take out everything. So putting back the sensor, putting back the airbox, and then finally just routing the cables the same way I undo them when I started this assembly. Establish the connection between the ignition module and the Power Commander 5 by using the CAN bus provided in the kit. Here I decided to put to the side the two cables for the Rev Xtend option that's included with the ignition module. This one's going to give you the ability to raise the RPM limit by 500 RPMs. On this case, I already have my limiter increased by my reflash, so I'm not going to be using this option with the ignition module. Here I'm prepping the cable that I'm going to be using in order to use my launch control. So in order to use the launch control, you have to connect one lead or one cable on the back side of the ignition module, specifically on the port number 5, and then you're going to be using that same cable to connect it to your clutch switch on your bike. So this is going to go to the ground of your clutch side. I'll show you that in a second. So here I'm actually tying up the lead or the position that I use. In this case is number 5, like I mentioned before. With all the connections done, now I'm just going in my computer, and the first thing you have to do is just to ensure that your Power Commander 5 is indeed using the latest version available. In this case, I'm using 1.064, and that's perfect. So at this point, I'm opening the app and then just connecting to the ignition module, because you want the ignition module to be recognized. So if you have a Power Commander 5, you have to connect the Power Commander 5 to your computer through your USB cable, and then you have to run a second USB cable to run it through the ignition module, just so the Power Commander realizes that there's a new device or peripheral on the network, and that way you're gonna get prompted to once recognize it by the Power Commander application at the Power Commander unit, as well as creating that sync or communication on the same network of devices that you have installed on your bike. Now that the Power Commander is connected and synced, you'll see that I'm gonna open the window to do the configuration, and I'll start first by checking the box, which means that I want the launch control on, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and set up the actual or configure the actual settings or parameters, which I'm gonna go ahead and turn and make it 4,000 RPMs, even though I'll be at full throttle when my clutch lever is completely pushed.
Alright, so right now everything is installed and I have a bunch of like loose cables because I'm trying to figure out the last step. In order for you to have the actual launch control working, you have to intervene your clutch sensor, so which is one right here. So based on the instructions, it said that you're gonna go or interfere the grounding portion of the clutch sensor, which is what I understood I did. And I have, you know, everything here just exposed because I want to make sure that, you know, it works before I make my final connection. But this is going to be my first time. Yes, as you saw already, I linked the network. So now the PVC is talking to the ignition module, and the ignition module is set to do launch control at 4,000, which is the only setup that I'm going to be doing as of right now for the ignition module. So just give it a try. All right, let's see. Okay. Oh, ignition module is not connected. I just realized that my CAN bus is disconnected. So turn it off. All right, let's just give it a try. Connector. So let me see if maybe, remember this is temporary until I figure out or make sure that it's working correctly. All right, try number 2. No clutch.